what, in your view, are the most important factors in the identity and data connectivity discussion right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think primarily the most important factors are people dealing with their own consented data and trying to make that portable and usable in the general ecosystem, especially as, third-party identifiers are depreciating. Companies are, like Apple, are looking to obfuscate IP addresses. So I think, really understanding, getting a full 360 view of a person is probably the first, the most important thing is to really understand how usable first party data is. And then making that first party data actually portable and usable, whether it's, using something like a CDP or using a data clean room as kind of the way to allow for that portability.
Do you think that the sort of the clean room space is shaping up in such a way that they become scaled solutions, or are we looking at, like, you cobble together a little bit of audience here, a little bit there, but it, it never gets where we were with the cookie?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get to where it was with the cookie. I think there are going to be, people are in terms of being able to allow the data to be interoperable. You're going to need to have to work with multiple data clean rooms, which in and of itself, again, depending on how, how much time and effort companies use to actually verify their consented data, will potentially lead to fragmentation, right? So if I don't, if one company looks at, their data is super clean, another company's data is not that clean, they're not going to necessarily match. And so, using that, the data clean room as the way to be able to connect, I think there are going to need to be standards in terms of how everybody looks to actually make their data usable in that environment, which really don't exist today.
Wow. Yeah. So who carries the burden then of getting us to a more sort of an environment where data is more standardized and the hygiene is better and the scale is there? Like, do publishers carry more of a burden on that, or do the first party data owners on the buy side?
I think it's the person who's collecting the data.
Okay.
So if I'm an advertiser and I'm collecting my customers' data, then I need to set up certain standards. If I'm a publisher and I'm collecting the users of, people who are using my website, I'm collecting their data, then I need to set those in place. And then, there's, and then there are other third parties that I can use and engage with to verify that, the user information that's being inputted is actually correct and accurate, right? Batman@batcave.com is not a legitimate email address, right? So how am I going to actually get all of that sorted out of my data set to make sure that I actually can connect the appropriate email across the ecosystem?
Okay, great. So a little bit of a downer message you're sending here. It seems like we're not going to have any kind of utopian end state with perfect reach and frequency management that will resolve fragmentation. So, with that sort of sobering fact out there, what's the right way for companies in the space to approach this challenge going forward? Like, just a few concrete ideas for, you've already mentioned one or two. Maybe just develop that a little bit more. What's the right mindset? What's the right strategy?
I think the right mindset is, advertisers really need to think about what the end game is, right? So how are they, in this future state of, where I'm not going to be able to run my advertising where I did in the past, decade? How does that, what does that mean in terms of the tools that I use and how I actually communicate with the people I am trying to reach, prospects and existing customers, and what are the right channels and mechanisms to do that? And I think that is going to be a really, that's kind of where it needs to start with is what are the things I'm willing to give up? What are the things that I'm not willing to give up? And how do I, and then what does that future state look like based on the industry being able to support those things? And what I would say is, the reality is that when we talk about this, utopian state, the tech is out there, right, to do it. I mean, it's more about, are we getting in our own way? Are we working with the right vendors that allow us to kind of get to that state? And what are we willing to really invest in to get there?
All right, great. Final question. We were originally going to talk at CES, but obviously nobody went, or you went.
Yeah.
But on that sort of the CES theme of innovation, where do you see innovation in this industry right now?
I think there are some really cool things that are happening, behind the scenes at some of the large marketers, where they are really trying to build some of their own proprietary tools on top of some of the tech that's out there. So I think from an innovation standpoint, I'm really hoping that the next wave of innovation will happen at the advertiser level. And you're starting to see companies like, Walmart stepping up. You're starting to see companies like, Target's been doing, they have their own arm as well. So I'm really excited to see kind of that wave of innovation, where that comes from directly with the advertisers, because I think that will be, that's something that hasn't happened to date and will be very indicative of kind of the future state of the business, and where I think ultimately the people who have the dollars are the ones to influence change.